Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll cover the game between Magnus Carlsen and Nepomniachtchi from the 2022 Grand Chess Tour Rapid and Blitz. And it was a very nice victory for the Norwegian player. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Nepomniachtchi with the white pieces started with knight to f3, knight to f6 by Magnus, and now g3 going for the Reti opening, c5 and now bishop to g2, knight to c6 trying to support the e5 push, and short castle by white, e5 and now c4. d5 by Magnus challenging the white center, and now queen to a4. Now the black knight is pinned, which means that white is threatening to capture the e5 pawn, and that's why Magnus went bishop to d6 defending his pawn on e5. And here Nepomniachtchi went for a move that is very surprising, which is to go d4. And it is surprising because it looks like black has too much control over the d4 square, but tactically this move works. And let's see why. Black goes e capture on d4, and the point here is that white is going to capture on d5, and after the knight recaptures, now we can capture the d4 pawn, opening up this discovered attack on the d5 knight. Now c capture on d4 and bishop capture on d5. And here Magnus could have gone something like queen to b6, defending his knight, which also defends the d4 pawn, and it's a playable position. But instead Magnus went for a more aggressive approach, and he simply castled his king. Now black is giving up a pawn, but in order to take it you have to give up the bishop pair. And that's what happened in the game. Bishop capture on c6, pawn capture on c6, and queen capture on d4. And here black is down a pawn, and he also has a bad pawn structure, and obviously his compensation for all of this is the bishop pair. Here Magnus went bishop to h3 attacking the rook, and here white can go for something like rook to d1, but after bishop to e5, obviously you can take the bishop because of queen capture on d1, and you also can't remove your queen, so after queen capture on d8, rook capture on d8, you don't have anything better than to put your rook on e1 anyway, because if you simply trade rooks, now you are in deep trouble. The black rook is threatening to come here with a checkmate, and your king is also cut off, and if you have to play moves like knight to d2, your position will become very passive, and you can easily get in trouble here. So instead of this, Nepomniachtchi went rook to e1, and now rook to b8, putting some pressure on the b2 pawn, knight to c3, queen to e7, and now bishop to g5. White is offering a trade of bishops, because if queen capture, now the d6 bishop will fall. Magnus declines and he goes queen to e6, bishop to f4, bishop capture on f4, and now queen capture on f4. Rook capture on b2, black gains back his pawn, rook on a to d1, threatening to go rook to d6 next. So here Magnus offers the queen trade, and Nepomniachtchi accepts. Now rook to d6 attacking the c6 pawn, rook to c8, rook to c1, defending the knight and also eyeing up this c6 pawn, king to f8 by Magnus, trying to kick the white rook, and also activating his king, rook to d4, and now bishop to e6, putting some pressure on the a2 pawn, rook to a4 by Nepo, and now rook to c7, keeping everything guarded. f3 trying to advance the pawn with something like g4, e4, h4, and put the king on f2. Now Magnus goes c5, king to f2, h5 and h4, g6 by Magnus, and now the king side is pretty much completely closed. Rook to a5, fixing the black rook, otherwise the c5 pawn will fall. Bishop to c4, rook to a4, bishop to e6, rook to a5. Nepomniachtchi is offering a repetition, but Magnus simply declines and he goes king to g7. Knight to b5 attacking the rook, and now rook to d7. Rook capture on c5, now bishop capture on a2. Knight to c3 attacking the bishop, now bishop to e6. Rook to a3, now rook to c2. Knight to e4 by Nepo, offering a rook trade, and Magnus declines and he goes bishop to c4. And here Nepomniachtchi makes his first mistake of the game. He goes knight back to c3. And this is a problem because it drops the e2 pawn, as the knight cannot capture because the rook will fall. So here instead, Nepomniachtchi should have gone something like rook to e3, defending the a2 pawn, and his position is a little bit passive, but he can still hold. Instead here, after knight to c3, bishop capture on e2, rook to a2 offering a rook trade, rook capture on a2, knight capture on a2, and now rook to d2. White's position is very unpleasant. Now knight back to c3 attacking the bishop, and now bishop to a6. King to e3 attacking the rook, now rook to d3 check, king to e4, and now rook to d7. Rook to a5 attacking the bishop, and now bishop to b7 check. King back to e3, and now a6. And here Nepomniachtchi goes for knight to a4, trying to go knight to c5, attacking the rook, attacking the bishop and also the a6 pawn. But this is a blunder because after rook to d5, white's position is just collapsing. Your rook is trapped here, and if you trade after bishop capture, now the a pawn is going to decide the game with the aid of the bishop. So here after rook to d5, Nepomniachtchi simply blocks with his knight and also attacks the bishop. So bishop to c6, king to f2, king to g8, king back to e3, and now f6. King back to f2, as white doesn't have that much to do. He can't move his knight and also he can't move his rook. Now black goes king to f7, king to e3, and now g5. H capture on g5, f capture on g5, f4 by Nepo, and now h4. And here if you capture on g5, black is going to go h3 and you're immediately lost. So instead here, Nepomniachtchi trades on h4, king back to f2, and now king to g6, king to g1, king to f5, king to h2, and now king to g4. And here white is just lost. There isn't that much he can do. Nepomniachtchi tried to go f5 to push his pawn, but now after rook to d2 check, king to g1, h3, and white just resigns. Simply because there is nothing to do if you push your pawn, h2, king to f1, and now black makes a new queen with checkmate. And also here your rook cannot do anything, you can't check the black king because the bishop covers this square, and that's why Nepomniachtchi resigned. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell to get our latest videos. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.